that by the time people hit 50, the next generation is ready to take over. They are there as guides. By 60, the next generation has to take over. You cannot have, if Allah wanted, Allah could have kept the Ahlul Bayt al-Islam longer. So we need to make sure that the next generation is ready quickly to take over and continue the message. And that's why it's really important for the parents to bring the children and get them involved, especially if they're teenagers, get them involved. Do not let them hang out when they have free time. Because if they have free time, Shaitan is always attacking all the time. Shaitan will not stop. If you stop, Shaitan is not going to stop. It's the responsibility of the parents, it's the responsibility of all those who have youngsters in their family to bring them. And also if a child or a young person comes, they should be involved and more active in that. So it's a responsibility upon them. So that's how Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam laid the foundation of this fiqh. He had 4,000 students at one point in the city of Medina. But he was not saying, oh, you're going to stay with me forever. Couple of years, move on. Go to another place. Couple of years, you study with me, move on. Take the teachings, share it with others. Imam, there's a book, and I'll recommend all of you to read that book. It says it has articles from different non-Muslim scholars, which says that Imam in his university, he told people that this oxygen that we breathe, this air that we breathe, it's not one gas. It is a combination of multiple gases. One of them is a gas which is heavier. If that gas doesn't exist, things will not burn. And if that gas doesn't exist, then anything that is there, it will not rot. The corpse, the dead bodies will not disintegrate because there will not be any bacteria if there is no oxygen. If there is no oxygen, iron will not become oxidized and rust. So Imam told that. Imam also said that if you have water with knowledge, you can actually make fire out of water. People for thousands of years said, fire out of water, how is that possible? It is just saying, it's a poetic interpretation that you can kill fire with water. So Imam is saying you can create fire out of water. But today when we see what is happening in the sun itself, the core of the sun is lighted because of hydrogen combining with hydrogen. Water itself is two hydrogen. When in the right situation, hydrogen fuses with hydrogen, it is a nuclear fusion reaction which powers the sun itself. Imam said that the light that you see is not coming from your eyes going towards the thing. Rather, it is coming either directly from an object or is being reflected from an object and coming to the eye. Otherwise, previously people thought that the eye is the source of light. And then that's why Imam said, if that was the case, then when it is dark, why can't we see something? Otherwise, we should be able to see things. And then Imam said that if you are able to gather light, you can see many things for far distances. And that's the foundation of the modern telescope. That what modern telescope does is it has lenses to gather more light. And when it can do that, it is able to see what is on the surface of the moon and other planets. And that's the reason why Kepler and Galileo and others, they laid the foundation of this modern gravitational pull and all the orbital satellites that we have. This is based on that, because after observing these planets, these laws were defined. And based on these laws, the satellites and everything works. And then Imam alayhi salam also laid not only about the scientific aspect, but also he laid the foundation of clarifying the confusion between what is irfan. Because at that point, people had moved away from the true sense of irfan towards saying God and humans are the same. And that was one of the things that happened in the time of the Fatimid Caliphate. That one of the rulers, he started saying, I am Allah. Because Allah, the Ma'bud, and humans are the same. That was the type of confusion that Shaitan was bringing in. Imam al-Islam clearly highlighted this is wrong. and he laid the foundation so that the Shias are not deviated. And he told the people, you should marry, because at that point people were moving away from marriages. They were taking over the way of the Christians, that they're not going to marry, they're going to sit in a monastery for the entire life. Imam said, no, you have to have families, you have to be in the society. And that's why that kind of thing did not happen. So I will end with this aspect. And it's just one aspect, but every time I come to this podium, I do try to mention some of the signs. So just so that people understand and people are aware. It doesn't mean that the reappearance is going to happen now. No one can tell the time, but it is important to understand these things are happening in front of you, so that when the noise comes, when the sound comes, when according to Maulana Sheba and according to the tafsir of the Surah Jummah, one of the things about Surah Jummah is when the sound comes for the day of Jummah, run towards zikrullah. One of the interpretations of that is when the sound comes about the Imam of the time, then run towards the Imam. And we know that one of the final signs of the reappearance of the Imam is that there will be a sound from the heavens. And we have to run towards the Imam if we have true faith. So quickly, you guys can search on the internet. There is a prophecy about the last Pope that was mentioned 100 years ago, that there will be 112 popes. Not 100 years ago, 1200 or something, 1000 years ago. That 112th pope will be the last pope. And after that, the city on the 7 hills will be destroyed. What is the city on the 7 hills? That city on the 7 hills, it represents Rome. What happened to Rome? One could argue that Rome was already destroyed. The other perspective is the Western civilization represents the Rome today. And then I'll just mention one verse in the Quran, or from verses 1 through 5 of Surah Rum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alif Lam Mim. غُلِبَتِ الرُّومُ فِي أَدْنَى الْأَرْضِ وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ فِي بِضْعِ سِنِينَ لِلَّهِ أَمْرٌ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَمِنْ بَعْدِ وَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ بِنَصْرِ اللَّهِ يَنْصُرُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ. Alif Lam Mim, the Romans have been defeated in the nearest land, yet after their defeat they will overcome within a few years. To Allah belongs the command before and after, and on that day the believers will rejoice. Now this is important, that the Romans have been defeated. Then the Romans, after being defeated, they will come again. After that, Allah says, on that day, the believers will rejoice. Believers over here means the Shia, the true Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Why would Allah say that after the Romans come, the believers will rejoice? According to the tafsir, that this is the time when the 12th Imam will come back. So when this time the Romans are defeated, the empire ends, or at that time, at some point, the reappearance will be close. And then the world will be, the victory of Allah will be served.